grandfather was in naval stores. That was like Turpentine and Rawson, and with his brother. And there was a lot of family interconnection because in the previous generation there were three Bullard brothers who married three Joyner sisters, and so there were a lot of double first cousins. And
how does that work?
that made it interesting. Well, people ask that, and genetically they're supposed to be even more closely related than brothers and sisters. And
Really?
so, yes.
Wow.
And so someone asked me, they said, how closely related is that? I said, it's close, believe me. And when you come into a small town, I had a lady who moved here not too long ago, about 2 years ago, and she said, Mr. Bullard, I understand your family's been here a long time, and I said, they have. She said, do you have any advice for anyone new who might move into this community? I said, I do. I said, don't talk about anyone. I said, because you may be talking to their cousin, sister, and you may not even know it. I said, so if you say anything, just say, you don't have to say they're nice. I said, you have to know someone a good long while to say whether they're nice. When people ask me, well, are they a nice person if I haven't known them very long, I say they're pleasant. Because there's a vast difference between pleasant and nice. And so but I taught here, I was born here, and I've enjoyed living here with its bumps and warts and with its glory. It's been wonderful.
Because I've found that the life and the culture, and probably true of a lot of small towns, but particularly true for White Springs, is very vibrant and very alive if you choose to get involved. It's not like you can walk out of your door and have 25 restaurants to choose from, but if you get involved in the community, you might get 25 invites for dinner over the course of a month. So I found it to be a very vibrant and alive community. And that goes hand in hand with its history, because White Springs is kind of unique amongst towns in Florida. It was Florida's original tourist destination. And I could talk about that in some length, but I think what's really interesting is that people came here at the turn of the century for the healing waters of the spring, for the nature, for the environment, for the genteelness that existed here, for the comfort, all the hotels and everything of that matter that was here at the time. And then as years went by, various different things happened and the scene changed. And in the 1960s, they built the interstate, and a lot of traffic started to bypass White Springs, and White Springs kind of dried up. And this was very sad from an economic standpoint, but from a cultural standpoint, things changed in terms of having a lot of outside influence before we lost the feel of who we are. Before we were overwhelmed by the outside world kind of passed us by for a while. And they'd be going down I-75 to Disney World and places like that, and here we were. Well, now we're enjoying this resurgence of people that come here for the same reason, because they appreciate the traditional values, the culture, the nature, the river. We don't have the spring anymore, and don't get me started on that, because that was Florida's first magnitude mineral spring, and it was an economic resource and just a wonderful bounty of nature, and it's a shame that it's gone. But we're working in an environmental direction to try to address what we still have and make sure that we preserve it in the way of the nature and the ecology and the environment, and also with our history and with our culture.
The moment I crossed the bridge and crossed the Suwannee River, this was home to me. There was no way I was moving off to the big city. Mm-hmm. So awesome. Here I am. This area has been an area where people have lived off the land, starting with the Timucuans. The Timucuans were the earliest settlers here in the 1700s. They were found along the river, and they're the ones who gave the river the name Suwannee. It means River of Echoes, and I don't know if you've captured that in any of your interviews, but in the 18th century, Seminoles and Anglo-Celtic settlers and African Americans came into this area, and Seminoles lived along the river. They gardened, they lived off the land. They got fish from the river, venison out of the woods, wild turkey, and that you still see that today. This is a big hunting and fishing culture here. And so wild is just part of the diet. People who have lived here where the Swanee River is, it's part of their blood. It's like an artery that runs through the land. It's been so important, not just for the food that it's provided, but for the recreation, if you will. This has always been a healing ground. I felt it when I first moved here. The spring was always considered a healing ground by the Native Americans, and there would be no war within a certain radius of that spring. So you could see Native Americans that had been fighting earlier, perhaps, soaking in the coolness of the spring and letting their, just relaxing and healing. There was a boneyard here in the 50s. Do you know what a boneyard is?
Only as it relates to like elephant tusks.
Okay, that's not that kind of boneyard. A boneyard was a practice that many Southern African Americans kept, and they would hang bones from the trees.
Oh, and what did that do?
It kept away evil spirits. And we had a wonderful boneyard here in White Springs, and it was gone before I came, but it was called Aunt Aggie's Boneyard. And I believe there are some postcards still with pictures of that on there. There is a very blurry photograph of the boneyard at the town hall.
What kind of bones?
Cow bones, deer bones, hog bones.
Animal bones, just all kinds of bones.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Jaw bones,
Uh-huh.
leg bones.
Wow.
It came times after I got up to be a young man and I got married, and I think I had 3 or 4 children. I was working for a man had a Turpentine camp. I don't know if you know nothing about all that or not, but
What's it called?
Turpentine. We was working.
Not working?
We was working turpentine, that chipping boxes that they had. I don't know whether y'all know anything about it or
No.
not.
Could you explain a little bit more? A turpentine?
Turpentine.
Yeah.
It was, they put cups on trees,
Okay.
on pine trees,
Right.
and they had hacks, we chipped them trees and they run tar into the cups, and we dip them and put them in barrels.
Gotcha.
And that's the way I made a living way back there then. And it was kind of rough way back there then, We couldn't use the bathroom in Lake City. Now I take all them people on that truck and carry them uptown. If they had to go to the bathroom, I don't know really know where 5 Points is out from this side of Lake City. I'd have to take them to the woods, for us to use the bathroom. The men's go over here and the women's go over there.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of rough. I even hate to talk about it, but it was in the past. It was in the past. All that's past and gone now, We don't have to do that no more.
Right.
So I enjoy that too. That was a pleasure back then to have to do it, but it's better now.
Yes, sir.
So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it all. Yeah, I'm 88 now. And I'm still going, still working a little bit when I want to, I got a big garden over there at the house. Yeah, I still get around, thanks to the Lord.
So you're able to, you work in the garden and...
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I got a big garden, got chickens, got goats.
What else? What kind of vegetables? I mean, what's the full garden like? Sounds like a
Well-
farm.
Well, I did have corn. I got sweet potatoes. I got greens. Well, I did have peas, but they're all gone now. Now I got greens and I got sweet potatoes. The only thing I got growing right now.
Sure.
Yeah, I got sweet potatoes about that big right now.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm enjoying life now.
Nice.
Do you all the things in your garden? Obviously, you eat a lot of that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those are all your meals.
Yeah, well, no, that ain't all me. No, I have meat. I buy meat and stuff. I had to buy all that. But far as my vegetables, I growed all that, okra and peas
Wow.
and beans and all that kind of stuff. I got all that, and I can all that myself.
You can it too.
Yeah, I can. My potatoes, my peas, my beans, my greens, I can all that stuff. I got pears that I canned about 13, 14 years ago. I still got them in the shed over there. I got the last syrup I made, I think it's been about 12 years ago. I ground my last round of syrup, cooked it. I still got some of that over at the house now. Yeah, I always was a fella, learned how from my dad how to take care of myself and live, you know. I tell young people today they could put me out there in them woods out there and I could live 3 or 4 months and never come to town. Just live right out there. There's plenty right out there in them woods for you to eat to live on.
Right.
So,
But people gotta know what it is, you know.
can you tell us what some of those things
Oh
are?
Lord.
We might want to know in case we get stuck out in the woods.
I know.
Well, it's something out there they call palmetto berries. You can eat them. You can eat palmettos.
How do you prepare the palmetto berries?
Well, you have to cook them. But them palmettos now, if you got an axe, so you can pull them and just eat them because they got a little long tender end on them about that long. You can just pull them up and eat them, you know. And you can live really on palmettos. You can live on palmettos 3 or 4 months right out there in the woods. Now, I didn't get no education. My education was bad. My daddy, you heard me say earlier, that he hired me out to work when I was 9 years old. Well, when I got 12 years old, my daddy walked off and left us. And what but 3 of us children, me, my brother, and my sister, and my mama. So when they left, I taken over then because I was the older one, you know, and I just, where we was living at, the man accepted me to go to work, and I just went to work and supported them until my daddy came back, and I still was working. I didn't stop, so that's why I didn't get no education, because I had to stop and go to work. But thanks to Lord for what little bit I did get. Ain't completely dumb, but oh Lord have mercy. This place right down here, the Springs. When I was a young man, we used to come over here to White Springs and just stand around. Let me see where I am now.
Spring house is over here.
Is it? Well, right wherever it is now. We would come over here, me and my family, and just walk around and watch people go down into that spring where the spring house is now. Some of them would come in there with pains in their arms, legs hurting, and all that kind of stuff. They just wade off down there in that spring. And when they come out, they'd be all right. They'd be done healed. I said, now you know this is something. But now, it's plumb dry. They say accidental cause it, I don't know. So accidental cut the stream that was coming from where it was coming from in the White Spring. Now it's dry. Nobody can be healed. That's bad. But I reckon it's good. It's done happen.
What about the river? Has the river changed in level?
Yes, ma'am. No water in it hardly now. And I remember when it stayed from half full to full. But it don't do that no more. I don't know why. You can wade across it now, but I remember when I was a boy, what I was, 9 years old. I remember that river getting low like that one time, and gators, vomits is coming from all out in the woods, you know, going to that river to try to find water. It was so dry. So that time is here now. Because I know it ain't no water hardly nowhere in the woods. Plus, the times now have done come to where they got ditches cut and all that, you know, just drain in different places, you know. That's why everywhere, everything's so dry now. Ain't no water nowhere. I remember we getting out there in the road ditch and catch a mess of fish when it rains. Now you can't even find a fish when it rains. Can't even see a minnow, let alone finding a fish.
Have you
The store is, it represents so much in my life early on that it's kind of, it's just been always in the back of my mind to never see it be tore down. And that's what I've done for a living, is tear down stuff and scrap stuff. But when I was a child of 6, 7 years old, my grandfather in Tampa would put me on a Greyhound bus, and my other grandfather would pick me up in front of that store. And when I say pick me up, I don't mean pick me up in a car. I mean meet me there walking, and I would drag my suitcase out to his home, which was a couple miles out of town, and I would stay with him all summer. As I would get off, as we would turn the corner, approaching the store, I always got to sit right behind the driver. I would look at that store and I would always think, you know, I just came from a place where there's really tall buildings and a lot of concrete and nothing really that represented our heritage in my life like that store. And when I'd get off the bus, I'd want to stand there and look at it for a while, and always thinking to myself, well, you know, maybe one day I'll get that store. But anyway, I know that sounds far-fetched, but at 6, but as years go on, I would always come back here during the summer and work in tobacco and whatever else I could do around here to earn money to save for my school clothes. But this whole area has always meant so much to me, showing that if you truly want something and you're willing to work for it and you're willing to wait for it, then you can pretty well do about anything you want to do. And what I learned here in the summers was that everyone got along. There was no one grabbing the back of your shirt to look at a label, or